Benefits of strategic management. Strategic management will give you a clearer sense of strategic vision. When you are employing strategic management, okay, whether you're employing the model or not, okay, you have an understanding, a clearer picture of what the vision of an organization is and what they stand to gain. Then also, you have a sharper focus of what is strategically important. I told you, during brainstorming, during meetings, strategic meetings, there are so many ideas that will come up. What you need to do is you don't disregard, as I've explained. There are some parts that will be needed later in the future, but at the same time, those ones, there are some that that will be needed, okay, as at the time of delivery. Okay, it gives you a sharper focus on what is strategically important. Then you have an improved understanding of the rapidly changing environment. If you don't employ, if you don't go through scanning, if you don't scan your environment, there's no how you will know there are changes. There's no how you will know whether some technologies, some applications are no more needed. Okay, so it improves your understanding of a changing environment. Then what are the three key strategic questions that you need to continuously ask yourself? One, you have to always ask to know where the organization stands now. Where is the organization now? Among the competitors, what's the stand? What's the status? If no changes are made, where will it be in the next 1, 2, 5, or 10 years? Okay? And there's something in strategic planning. There is what we call planning horizon. Planning horizon is the amount of time, okay, that is defined for you to substantiate the status of an organization, for you to substantiate the vision of an organization, for you to be able to define the space, a space for the organization to survive, to define the survivability of an organization. In planning horizon, depending on you, you can plan within, you can define a time space of 5 years. You can define a time space of 6 months. You can define a time space of 1 year. You now schedule them according to the plan. There are three types of planning. The first one is the strategic plan. If you're defining a year plan for you to know if the organization, the level of the status of that organization, you can decide to say the first 3 months should be for strategic plan or strategic planning. Strategic planning is when you start defining the mission, the vision, identifying the partners to work with, putting this and that together, constituting committees, okay, brainstorming on ideas on what the organization actually needs to stand, how do you register the organization, you know. Those parts are for strategic planning. Then after strategic planning, that time space is this tactical plan, the tactical planning. The tactical planning will now be when you start reviewing documents that might have been put together during the strategic planning space. Okay? Listen very well because I don't have this in the slide. Then also, from that space, from that time, the tactical planning will go from the last 3 months. Okay? Okay, you can now peak in the next 4 months. That is if it is 1 year planning horizon. Depends on you. Depends on how large the organization or the services you plan to render is. Okay? Then also, after, then you have the operational plan. That's when you kickstart. Okay, the operational planning. Your planning horizon can be set for 5 years. When it's going beyond 5 years, then you say it is an extended planning horizon. That could go 10 years, 20 years, depending on you. So after the whole the period, okay, then you should be able to know if this organization should stand or not. Okay, don't forget, you don't change vision. You don't change vision as with the same name of the organization. I said you go back and re-register. That's why you have to be very careful during your strategic planning period. Okay, I'll try and see if I can get some documents for you to read up on. Okay, as regards planning horizon. Now, when you now define if there are no changes, okay, even in the next 2-3 years, you try and ask yourself those questions. If the questions are acceptable, then that means you're good to go. Okay, that is after your operation planning, if the questions are acceptable. If the questions are not acceptable, then what specific actions should the top level managers take? Okay, what are the risks and payoff involved? Okay, you should be able to ask all these strategic questions from time to time. Now, next, the features of a successful strategic management. First thing is it must have the support of the organization's executive officer. That's the top level management. Okay, they must support it. Whatever strategic idea or plan you are bringing up, that it must have the support of the organization executive officer. It must be user friendly. It must be participatory, involve people, whether at the lowest level or the middle level. Okay, it should be something that should be easy to adopt. Then it must be flexible. It must engage and motivate staff. Don't say because you are the top level manager, you are the one to do the presentation before the board, you're not going to motivate those staff that put the document together, those low levels. It must, a house is going to have a hitch if you're not very careful. You must be able to give back to those that put it together. So this must be defined, okay, in the strategic plan, during the strategic management process. Then it must be proactive, okay. Then there should be a quick fix. I mentioned some times ago about standalone strategy, okay. So it allows you to do a quick fix. Then part of quality management must be part of quality management. It's even essentially very viable in quality management. From all our discussion so far, then payoffs increase over time. You should be able to have that understanding that it might not be now, but after some time, then there will be payoffs. Okay. Then what are the roles of top management team? That is the executive leadership and strategic vision. It must articulate strategic vision for corporation. That is a top level manager. Okay, as a professional now, at this level, at least if you're not at the top level, you should be at the middle level. Okay, you should be able to articulate strategic vision for the organization. You should be able to set the model for others to identify and follow. You should be able to communicate high performance standard and build confidence in all the followers, and as well try and meet up with standards, okay, that the organization sets to achieve. Then also managing strategic planning process should be your role as a top level manager. Now, we've been talking about strategic planning, strategic management. What could have been the results? What could have been the reason why managers don't plan? Okay,